What a year for board games 2024 was, and looks like 2025 is going to be even better. But what are 10 games we are looking forward to most?
Hi, I'm Libby, this is Julian, and together we are Boxed Meeples. And yes, it's the start of a new year, so there's lots of new games to get excited by. So yes, today we are going to talk to you all about what's upcoming for 2025 that we can't wait to play. Now, there are some games that are coming up in 2025 that we have already played.
Yes.
So we've kind of excluded them from this list, kind of, but we're still going to remind you of them.
Yeah, so anything we've done a lot of coverage for, we don't want to bore you by doing that again, but we have got links to videos where we talk about games that are coming out in 2025, and top of that list we are looking forward to is Pandora Celeste. It's a adventure dungeon crawler set in space, and what's unique about it is it pays homage to all those kind of old late 80s, early 90s sci-fi horror films with a spectacular unfolding board that makes setup super quick. And we've done a video already on that, so have a watch of that if you're interested in that one. Yeah,
all of these games that we're mentioning, we have done videos, so do go and check those out if you've missed them along the way and you want to know more about these great 2025 games. So second up from that list is Luthier, a fantastic game. Cannot wait for this one. I think it might be one that I'm most excited about for this year.
I'm already predicting this being my game of 2025. We enjoyed it that much when we played it.
You spent as part of Essen at the Paverson game stand, so you were there with your baton teaching people. I mean, mainly on Distilled, which is another fantastic game.
I think Luthier is going to exceed. We love Distilled, and I think Luthier exceeds it in lots of ways. And you're building instruments in the kind of golden age when that was a huge industry.
Yeah, and there's so many different ways to win in that game. You can go out and perform. There's area control in the sort of orchestral pit. You've got to fix your instruments to keep your patrons happy. There's tracks to go up and improve things. So much going on.
I really like is the fact there's different ways to play it. So if you like kind of more push your luck style, you can do the performances, rolling dice using an amazing musical dice tower. Or if you want a more safe route, you can do resource management, go up different tracks. And I think
that's what I did.
I think it's really interesting that we've played it lots of times, but each time we kind of play it differently.
Yes.
And the art in that game is phenomenal. Such fantastic Vincent Dutray artwork in there.
It really is.
A lighter game we played quite a lot of is
quite a contrast. This one,
quite a leap, is Sakana Stack, which is it's a card game that actually plays really well at 2 players.
Yeah, you're trick taking. I mean, we've played it everywhere, like on the train and traveling. I feel like it's kind of like the next Scout for us. The theme is basically a Japanese sort of fishing market. So you've got all these fun little artwork of these different types of fish and eels and things like that. Different colours, different numbers, obviously, on the cards. And it's that standard sort of trick-taking thing going on, but it does actually work really well at 2 as well. So pocket size, travel-friendly. Great little game.
Card counting is kind of key when you're playing with 2. Another similar one, which is designed for 2, is High Noon Heist, a great game that we're playing, where you're playing out different bandits to try and control different areas of the card placement. Another quick, fun game that we often have with us when playing games. And Tatsumi, of course.
Oh my gosh, yes. Loved Tatsumi with those dragons. One from Adam's Apple Games, who brought us Planet Unknown, one of our favourite games. Potentially, or see in our top 50 maybe. And yeah, you're moving these dragons around and completing missions. There's lots of asymmetric options, as you'd expect from them. Loads of different sort of special actions that you can choose to take by spending your scales. So yeah, definitely one to look out for, that one.
Isla was a big hit for us a few years back. Again, we saw a Games Expo and we've followed that since. We've done our 5 reasons to play that. But essentially, it's a blend of card drafting, roll and write style game as you're exploring an island.
And what I love about this game is the way it uses the dice and how you exhaust them and how you have to sort of get them back. And managing that dice as a resource is what makes this game a little bit different and special.
A game we absolutely loved, but unfortunately didn't reach its funding goal on its first attempt was AstroNavigators, and we are so delighted that this is coming back in 2025. Some revisions on the rules, making it slightly more accessible, but we're going to be talking about that a lot more once we get the new version of the game. And another game we're going to be talking about a lot more is actually called Neon Hope. We've got a solo sessions coming up on that, which is filmed and will be on the channel super soon. But that's a narrative-based kind of adventure game using an interesting card mechanic.
Yeah, so as we mentioned before, all of those games that we've spoken about, we already have content on the channel. So if you're not subscribed, please do that. Go search back. We'll leave the links, obviously, in the descriptions. You can find those. And of course, if you do subscribe, then you'll find ones like Neon Hope that are upcoming as well. So now we can sort of get into the other games, but there's a couple of little honorary mentions that I want to do because there's a couple of expansions that I just couldn't not mention, and I haven't included expansions.
No, I didn't.
In my choices. So we will just say, hello, Dune Imperium Bloodlines. I'd love to add you to my game.
I'm going to be, in fact, I've already backed it. I'm going to, of course, be getting the latest Root expansion, Homelands. Why would I not have got that?
Yes.
Clearly I have.
Yeah.
And another one I'm excited about is Final Girl Season 3 is coming. Lots of interesting new films in that. But one, I always like the kind of mini expansions because they really do twist up the mechanisms. And Terror from Destiny has been written by Evan Derrick, who I think is such a fantastic board game writer. So I know that one is going to be good.
Yeah, and my last sort of honorary expansion style mention is Last Ruins of Arnak. I mean, if you know the channel, you know how much we love that game. And this is having this sort of bigger storage box that we got to see at Essen, but it's also going to have new boards and a black tablet mechanism, which can give you negative points at the end of the game. So they are, yes, giving you the storage box, which is going to be very helpful for the shelves, but also adding a few extra bits and bobs into that game as well. So,
yeah. Well, that's a million games we've already mentioned, but let's talk about the 10 that we have not talked about on this channel so far. So we picked 5 games each, and the first one I am picking is a solo-only game called Time Troopers. I saw this first at AirCon, wasn't able to play it.
No,
because I found out about too late.
I just looked at the banner and went, this is a you game.
But then I did get to play it at AirCon in Manchester, and I really, really enjoyed playing. You know, you sit down and you play a game, you're like, yep, this is something I want to play more of. It's a card-based kind of adventure game, very strong in narrative, where you're manipulating time. Time is actually a currency in this game, and similar to how you see in other solo-based card games, you can spend that currency in various ways to maybe re-roll some dice, to manipulate which cards are being drawn. But essentially, you're playing as a series of troopers jumping back and forth through time to different eras in the game. And each of those eras plays slightly differently. On the main mechanics remain the same, but they each have their own kind of unique dice, their own unique cards, which means you'll have different missions in different eras, which you have to complete to contribute to an overarching huge narrative. And what I played was kind of almost cinematic in a way.
Wow.
Beautiful card art with kind of even a soundtrack that you play to tie into the game.
I mean, we always put on appropriate music to the games that we're playing. So when they provide a soundtrack, that just gives it a big tick.
Done it for us.
Yes.
And yeah, I just felt really immersed in this card world, which is not something you don't often necessarily feel in solo games, which are more puzzly, but this is a narrative game. It's a storytelling game, and I always go for those. So yeah, I was excited about Time Troopers. I included it in a Games You're Excited About at Games Expo last year. I'm still as excited about it, if not more so, because I've actually played it.
First up from me is a game from Devir. So clearly it's got us written all over it. You know, for a start, it's going to be a great production from Devir. But the other thing that has me written all over it is it's from a really great designer. It's the designer of all the T games. So you've got Zolkan, you've got Teotihuacan, Tyletum. There's a whole range of those. And so you kind of know that it's going to be a really great Euro style game. And this is, but it's set in space. And so your kind of people placement, your engine building, and it also has a really lovely action that I enjoy. It has the follow action. So you can play an action as your captain in the round, you're trying to explore the galaxy, move further than anyone's gone before. And if your captain takes the action, obviously you get extra bonuses, but everyone around the table then has that option to take that action. So every turn is your turn. And I love that in some of these bigger, heavier games. It can, especially at higher player counts, it can feel like you're waiting a while, planning out what you're going to do, whereas when you get to take actions on everyone else's turn as well, it's super fun. The artwork on the front looks fantastic.
Yeah, it's got really cute art for the different factions you can play as. I assume will be asymmetrical in some ways.
Yeah, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what that designer does moving into out of the kind of ancient civilizations that we've seen before, that sort of aesthetic, and taking those kind of amazing mechanisms and ways of play into that kind of space field, which is an area that we really enjoy playing in. So yeah, super excited to see where that is. I think it's coming in the summer.
Excellent. Happy birthday, dear boss monster. You've just turned 10 years old, and hopefully that's not going to get some sort of copyright strike. We've been playing Boss Monster for absolute years. And in many ways, we've kind of outgrown it. Where as we played more and more complicated games, it's quite light and it's quite random, which is why I immediately back Super Boss Monster, because it has taken out that random card drawing, which is fun to play, don't get me wrong, but sometimes you don't want to depend on luck to be successful. And instead it's been replaced with a drafting mechanism with a new town board. What's great is, because we have so much Boss Monster card, including some custom-made ones we did of ourselves.
Yes, we did.
All of that is still compatible with Super Boss Monster. Basically, they just re-engineered the game, asked the fans what they liked, what they didn't like, and then adjusted the game accordingly to make the ultimate version of Boss Monster. And yeah, I'm really excited about it. I played Overboss so much solo, I kind of feel like I've exhausted what fun I can have from it. I kind of play it now on default. So the fact that this new version of Boss Monster includes a dedicated solo mode, I feel I'm going to kind of sidestep from Overboss to that and still enjoy my Brotherwise games.
Well, it'd be nice to give new life to a game that we sort of started playing very early when we were dating, so it's got that sort of sentimentality about it because it's one of those first sort of games of which we haven't played as much lately, but maybe that will give it a new life.
Yes, and rejuvenate it.
Next up from me is a game called Emberleaf, and I mean the cute factor alone on this one is going to win me over, I think. The artwork looks glorious. I mean, I don't know, it seems in my head, which is probably very wrong, but it seems like what would happen if you kind of mixed Everdell with Animal Crossing and Stardew Valley, right, like mesh them together, and then you'd get Emberleaf.
A glorious fusion of coziness.
But in my head, cozy vibes, yes. And you're trying to get your villagers out and get them housing on this sort of general map. There's only so many areas in the clearings that you have to build the different places out and put you've all got cute little meeples of different styles. There's like rats and owls and a couple of other different creatures there. They all look glorious. All the card work with all the different animals and characters that are giving you different abilities look great. You get to have extra sort of victory conditions and little missions that you're picking up along the way, and you're placing out these tiles, putting your meeples on them, scoring loads of leaf points, which are victory points. So I mean, I just think, how cozy and cute can you get? And it seems like it's got a bit of bite, a little bit of depth. I don't think it's as easy as some of the cutesy themes you might expect. So I think it's going to be a nice little challenge, but with that cozy cutes vibe. Gorgeous art.
Micro Moonshine is a game I've backed on crowdfunding because initially I just really liked the theme. I remember going to Vegas and going to a Prohibition exhibition.
We did.
So anything kind of that does attract me. And also this has got kind of gameplay mechanisms that I've seen in Distilled, and Distilled is one of my favourite games, where you're kind of acquiring ingredients to do a recipe fulfillment, to create your moonshine, to then honour certain orders. So it's got worker placement there, it's kind of got card management, and it plays super quickly. It's one of these small games that have a kind of big experience, so a small table presence, full-on board game experience. And yeah, I really like the art. I didn't know a great deal about it when I backed it. I know the micro range is a whole range of similar style games, kind of like the Tiny Epic games in many ways. They do pack a punch quickly, and has a kind of small table presence. Again, has a solo mode. It seems like I never want to play games with you.
Sad.
Because yeah, I often play a lot of because I travel quite a lot for work, so actually I'm immediately attracted to that kind of thing. Play solo isn't going to take up the whole space on the train.
Well, whilst we're talking about distilling alcohol, I'll talk about speakeasy. So obviously, we're set in the 1920s. We're in Manhattan. We are going around and we're doing a little bit of like mob bossing.
Right.
You know, we've got some missions to do. We've got tracks to go up. One of those things is building a distillery so that we can get some money from selling our alcohol. And if we've got great reputation, because, you know, we've got a great casino that we've built, you can get a lot of money for your alcohol.
Yeah.
Love the theme. It's a Lacerda. Art by Ian O'Toole.
Yep.
I mean, check. Like, I don't know. Yeah, as you've said, that kind of sort of speakeasy kind of period and theme, I think, is one that really appeals to us. So, yeah, just cannot wait. We did see a little glimpse of it at Essen.
Yeah, got to meet Lacerda and ask some various questions. And yeah, it's in terms of Lacerda games are known for kind of their complexity, but in terms of entry, of difficulty of entry for this, it's kind of on par with Kanban.
Yeah, a lot of people are saying that, you know, once you've got your head around the different sort of icons and stuff, by the time you've played your first sort of partway through your first game, it's actually quite intuitive in terms of what you can play. You know what your base actions are that you can do, you know the icons, and so although there's a lot of options in terms of how to play, the kind of getting your head around what you're doing is actually quite easy. And our friends,
our friends need to get ready for a 1920s themed evening when, of course, we're going to play Micro Moonshine, followed by a speakeasy.
Yeah,
it's going to
wear
happen.
Flapper dresses.
Clearly, that's why I can pull it off, though. Do you remember last year when we did this list of games we're looking forward to in 2024? On it was Darkwater, which was meant to fulfill at the end of 2024.
Oh.
It didn't. I did a video just where I was kind of doing the practice painting, where I was testing out the style of what I wanted to do with the minis, because this is a mini-based game with a beautiful combo of Lucky Duck and Van Ryder. So, you know, it's going to be solid storytelling, and I do like those kind of Lucky Duck style games where you're doing a mixture of the app. It seems very, I think it's based on a Destiny style app, but obviously a revised version of retweaked this new
and with that theme and story from Van Ryder, you know that it's gonna be great.
Yeah, from the outset, this is a darker theme than they have done before. We know it's going to be obviously set in 1980s Orleans, and I do like that kind of setting. So there's going to be lots of voodoo magic going on, mixed with that app, which is going to make it super atmospheric. I was excited about it last year. I'm now increasingly more excited about it. Hopefully, my big all-in Kickstarter will be arriving at some point soon this year.
Next from me is the third in the instalment that includes Merv here. And we haven't yet played the second one, but that doesn't make me any less excited for another one coming. So I don't know if I'm pronouncing this right, but Ayar? Let's say that. So again, we're ancient civilizations, as all of this range is. We're in the Incan Empire, which is one that I enjoy that kind of history and looking into that part of the world. And what I find interesting about this one, obviously, you're going out and you're learning different things as your sort of civilization. You're building that up. You've got the sun god and the moon god there, and the children of Ayar. And at the end of the game, you're getting points for the god that you've pleased or got favour in the least. So it's one of those games where you've you can't just push one track essentially
Yeah.
and make one thing happy and do really well in one area. You've got to do well in everything, because wherever you're least well in is where those points are going to come into. So I love the aesthetic of these games, and so excited for that one.
So it's another solo game I picked.
I mean, it's like you don't want to play any games with me in 2025.
If you've been watching our short videos, if you follow us on Instagram, you'll know I'm very excited about a game that features a certain Miss Lara Croft. Growing up playing video games, writing up video games, I actually wrote and contributed to a book about the history of Tomb Raider. So yes, very excited that there's going to be a board game coming out based on Tomb Raider. And I know there's been board games based on Tomb Raider in the past, but let's not sugarcoat it, they were awful. And I've got absolute faith that this one isn't going to be. I've had a chance to speak to the developers at Essen this year, and from what they were saying, as a Tomb Raider fan, I was very, very pleased with what they were telling me. So it's a solo-based game, as the video games are, going on that adventure with Lara. And it's an overarching big campaign. Also, it's designed so that you can do smaller, kind of self-contained adventures. Of course, you can play it cooperatively if you want to, like you can with any solo game. But obviously, you're just mutually deciding what Lara should do.
Which we'll probably do at some point.
I hope so.
You'll lull me into Lara.
Yes, it's a miniature-based game from a company who are known for those very large, kind of detailed miniatures, and from what I've seen for the miniatures as well, they are looking lovely. Couldn't be more excited about this game, and really hope it fulfills on all my expectations. From what I've seen so far, it will do.
Last up, but certainly not least, it's from Mindclash Games, and it's Revenant. So, I mean, when we went to Essen this year, we spent most of the time looking at Ironwood, but there were some bits and pieces about Revenant around there, but most that I found out has sort of been researched since. And we're in space, and it's in that Voidfall world. So the Voidfalls sort of happened, there's the Revenant ship, and there's a load of ships around trying to sort of protect that from the Voidfall. And you've got asymmetric powers as your captain. You've got a couple of other crew members that you can send off to different ships. And what's interesting is that you've got this kind of political element. You've got to sort of gain favour with different, let's call them faction heads or political parts. So almost Game of Thronesy, keep everyone happy. And you can have secret alliance, secret cards that build your relationship with certain factions along the game. So even though you've got an open track for that to see how everyone's relationships are going, how many points they're getting for different things, then at the end of the game you're going to be revealing all the secret dealings that you've been doing, which will push you up on those various tracks, and that's where you're going to get a lot of the points from. So you can destroy the Voidfall ships, you can go out and move ships around to protect the sort of mothership per se, and you've got all that kind of where you need to be, who needs to be where, how you're going to influence your sort of battling power, your captain stuff, but you've got all of this political intrigue stuff going on as well. So I think that sounds really interesting. Can't wait to play that one.
Yeah, looking forward to Littlefinger in space.
Exactly. So they were our top 10 games that we are most excited about for 2025. Of course, along with some reminders of ones that we can't wait for that we've already spoken about on the channel.
And whittled it down to kind of just 5 each, even including those games we've already covered, was a bit of an undertaking. There are so many games that we could have included in this.
Yes, I mean, on BGG, just doing a year search of 2025 release, there was 21 pages worth of games already to go through. And I know for a fact there's a lot of companies that haven't even announced their 2025 releases yet, like Cosmos, for example, haven't done that. There'll be a lot of other companies, especially games that are releasing sort of back end of the year, Essen sort of times, won't be on there yet either. So I'm sure potentially our game of the year isn't even announced yet.
Yes. So yeah, let us know in the comments what you are most excited about, and if you're excited about some of the games we're talking about, what makes you excited for them. And if you're looking to buy games, once these are released, if it's not coming to crowdfunding, of course, is your friendly local game store. And for us in the southeast of England, that is, of course, Chaos Cards. And if you're shopping at Chaos Cards, don't forget that we always have a discount code in the description, which will save you some money at the checkout. And we tend to refresh that fairly frequently. So if you've used one in the past, make sure you haven't used this new one, because you can still save some money there.
You can indeed. And of course, don't forget that we have put the links in the description to all of those games that we had already covered. So make sure you go and check those out if you missed them when they went up live.
But as always, thanks so much for watching.
Bye.